press start.
Starfield, which I believe most of the crew has access to early because we got the premium edition because we hate our money. So we thought let's pay a little extra to play it 5 days early.
The promise of day one Game Pass is dead. I paid money to play this game day one.
I know, same here. I actually got it on Steam myself, so I could play it on the Steam Deck, which it's not optimized for Steam Deck yet. It's fine, but my quick thoughts on Starfield on the Steam Deck is it's not my preferred way to play. I played it for like an hour on the Steam Deck, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until they patch this thing a bit because it still lists as unknown. Like it doesn't say it's Steam Deck.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like they aren't delivering something they promised or whatever.
I think even Skyrim is still not verified, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't know, something with Bethesda. They're just like, man.
They're making a Steam Deck edition because they need a separate edition.
Yeah.
Oh, God, you're so right, dude.
So the other thing is it's definitely not optimized for it. And even when you go in and make sure the settings are low, and the settings are pretty low, it runs smooth enough. But the battery life, as soon as I fired it up, it was like you have about an hour and 20 minutes of battery life left on a full battery charge. I was like, okay.
You can almost do nothing in that amount of time.
That is crazy. So I used up pretty much most of the battery life in one session just to try it out and see how it felt. And again, it was fine. It was fine. But playing it on the PC itself is actually preferred if you have a decent system to run it with. So anyway, I don't necessarily recommend that if that's your primary way of playing. I recommend getting it on the Xbox or on a PC that can run it. But so yeah, Starfield is out. I don't know if you guys knew this, but it hit over 230,000 concurrent players in its first 2 hours on Steam. Which is pretty significant. I mean, that was kind of up there in terms of other, major releases this year. It didn't quite get to levels of like Baldur's Gate 3 and Hogwarts Legacy. Those were in the 800,000s. But it's still pretty successful. Also, keep in mind that's only for early access purchasers on Steam. So if you were on Xbox or got it on Game Pass, which I think most people will play this on Game Pass because it's free, right? You're renting it. So it doesn't count purchases over there as well. So to me, that's pretty impressive. It's not like it's a Steam-only game or something. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Starfield. It's out. We've spent some time with it. I know, Kyle, you spent a lot of time with it. I've spent, I think, maybe 7 hours or so in that game world, exploring a bit. Dan, I know you're planning on playing it. Have you played it yet?
No, I'm gonna be a good boy and not spend my money.
I'm gonna play it on Game Pass when
Brian's happy with you right now.
I'm gonna play it for free. I'm gonna play it for free on Game Pass.
For free. Oh, it's mine. It's mine for free.
So wow, brave of you to say that.
What do you think so far, Kyle? You spent probably at least 2 times as much time as I have.
Yeah, I'm at 20 hours.
3 times as much.
Meaning one of these days I was just like, I'm just gonna play Starfield. I've basically been playing Starfield since it came out because it just came out like 30 something hours ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I like it. 20 hours and 20 hours and like 30 hours.
Hold on. Spoilers though. Is there a field of stars anywhere?
Almost immediately, but not immediately.
Yeah. By the way, we did a hype session for this past week on YouTube. Yeah. If you want to go see some of our thoughts,
you're still waiting, and you want to get hyped.
Get hyped with us if you're waiting to play it this week. But Kyle, we called out the fact that like between you and Derek, you two are the biggest Bethesda fanboys, or in terms, at least of our little group of 4 that we're playing or that we're talking. So you've loved the Fallout games, of course, Skyrim, and so on. And so you already kind of had your Bethesda cap on, I would imagine, as you fired this up. Like, all right, Bethesda, give me your next big thing that you've made. So there's that point of view, but then there's also just the general, like, hey, this is a new IP. It's Microsoft's next big exclusive. So what are your thoughts on it from both those perspectives?
I will say, if you've played The Outer Worlds, Fallout, Skyrim, anything of that nature, there are many mechanics in this game that are immediately going to feel very at home to you. Whether or not you like that or not, obviously, that's up to you. So I'm talking inventory management. I'm talking a lot of like, hey, I got to go back to town and sell my stuff, Hey, I got to offload stuff on my, travel mule of a companion. You know,
Once you
there's a
told me
lot
that,
of
I've been doing that like crazy now. I've just
yeah,
been
yeah,
handing
it's
them
super
stuff.
nice. Yeah,
Like
Gotta have
take
the
all
travel mule.
take all these wrenches and tablets I keep picking up to
Right.
sell
please
later.
just
Right.
take it. Yeah, and at some point you can stop picking up wrenches, you know, but it's just good for early game money. But
Yeah.
like, and that, but that's part of the game's DNA, you
That's
know,
Bethesda
is
charm, you know.
that's the Bethesda charm, is that like you're spending what, I don't know, I'm making up a number, 60% of the game like in your inventory menu, going, do I need this? Do I need this? No, I'm going to sell this off. Oh, maybe I could drop this because I'm kind of running low on space and stuff like that. Like that's what this game is, you know. But there are so many new ideas, and the game is so big. Like I have never even gone off path yet because the game is already plenty of big on path. So everyone who's like, I'm running off into random directions and checking out stuff, you know, on nothing planets, I'm like, that's crazy because there's so much to do just staying like on path. And what I mean by on path is just like in major cities, on major planets. So the fact that they have the audacity to make like thousands of other like, you know, nonsense planets or whatever is just crazy to me, because like there's so much content in this game, and I was overwhelmed. I think that first night I spent my first session was like 7 hours, and I spent 4 of those hours like overwhelmed and kind of like I don't know. I don't. Not that I don't know. I don't like this game. Like I don't. It's just everything's not falling together yet. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
But once I got really comfortable with how things work with like not only just the inventory, but like moving around in space, getting used to space battles, you know, which kind of can be kind of a little hard at first, but like they get a little easier as you upgrade and kind of get used to like how those systems work, because like you're moving a lot of like, hey, I'm gonna move power. It's like that Star Wars game that just came out, that EA Star Wars game. Is it Rogue Squadron or
just
new
squadrons?
Just Squadrons? Yeah, yeah. Like you're moving like power like from your lasers to your engine, from your engine to your shields, you know, and
Yeah,
you're
you
kind of
use your directional
manipulating.
pad to like pick one of, what is there, 5?
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 fields that you can.
And
I
then
guess it
you
depends on how many things you have
get like
activated
a
too.
pool of points to use, which I think you get more of those. I'm guessing when you upgrade your ship, you get more points to use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so you have a pool of points, and you can be like, all right, all power to lasers, but your shield and speed and control is going to kind of suck, or you could kind
Yeah.
of balance it out, or
Interesting.
hey, I'm under attack by a lot of folks. I got to charge up my shields and then maybe get my grav drive ready to go and get out.
Yeah, I can start moving stuff away from my guns because I'm trying to make a run.
Right.
You know, so I'll put stuff into my grav drive so I can zip away real quick, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot going on there. And the space fights are like slow paced because they have to be, because again, there's just a lot of mechanics going on. I think they feel good though for the most part. Once you get used to what it wants out of you, especially when you get like the not VAT system, which only happens in space. There's not VATs with your character or anything like that. There's a zoom in where you can like choose, hey, I'm gonna knock out their engine. You know, if you knock out their engine and
how
get
do you
them
do
floating,
that? I haven't done that yet. How do you do that?
you unlock it as you keep on playing the game.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've only done
yeah.
like 4 space battles in my 7 hours with the game.
People were right online, so like Gaston and Ron, like you guys were absolutely right. Like you got to play the single player mission up to a certain point, you know. So, and I was very reluctant to take that advice, not only from them but from every tip video that I watched.
I've only done a few little side things so far.
Yeah, so
I
just keep on plucking away, and at some point it'll be like, hey, this is how you do this. And when you shoot their engines out, you can fly up to them and board them, kill everybody on board.
And there's a story mission that has you do that, right? Where you're trying to get the, it's not Moana, but it's named like Moana. I kept laughing at it. I was like, I'm going to help Moana right now. Anyway, there's a character
that
teach
you how to shoot the engines then.
It didn't give me a tutorial then. It just said shoot out the engines, but I didn't see any prompt of what to hit to do that.
So when you're getting close to them, you'll hit X, but you also have to have the skill to do that.
Ah, got it. Oh, so in science, targeting skill.
Yeah, in science, there's a targeting skill. Yeah.
Got it. I don't have the targeting skill.
Yeah, spend a skill point. Yeah, there's a lot of things where it's like, why wouldn't you just be able to do this? It's a major game mechanic, and the game's like, nah, you got to put a point in that.
Like, I think I just put a point in the booster pack, which has made on foot stuff completely different.
Yeah.
I highly recommend.
You'll get on moons and like you'll just be like way like 40 feet in the air, just like cruising. Oh, it's so great.
There's a jetpack, but it's optional. So you'll have packs that could be jetpacks, but you can't use it until you add a skill point there. I don't think. So anyway, there's a mission on Mars, and this bounty hunter just wants you to go put this tracker up on top of this tower.
I have that mission. I haven't done it yet. Yeah.
That would be like nearly like with the booster pack. It took me like 2 minutes. Like I just hopped up these crates and I just kept boosting like really high and then really high. I was like, dude, this is great. If I didn't have this booster pack,
And you can hover like in the air and shoot like Boba Fett and stuff like that. I do a lot of that, you know. So that's pretty cool too. It makes combat really fun.
I agree
yeah,
with the overwhelming statement there, Kyle. Too.
Yeah,
Did you feel that with other Bethesda games when you started them?
Every time.
Okay.
And I forgot that. I had to remind myself every time you have your walkout moment, as they call them. So when you walk out of the vault in Fallout, or you walk out of the prison, in Skyrim or Oblivion
cave
or
in
Morrowind.
Breath of the Wild, right? Like same
the
thing.
cave in, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you have that moment that Bethesda has penned, like I think they call it the walkout moment. I forget, but like it's supposed to make you feel like you just stepped into a new world, and this game really has that in spades. Where like the second I got to like New Atlantis, which is like the biggest city in the game, it's also the biggest city they've ever crafted ever in any of their games. And it is big. Like when I got there, I was like, this is so overwhelming. Like there's so many levels to every area. There's like 6 areas in the whole city. Maybe there's more. Maybe I haven't even explored everything yet. And it's just, and every person, as long as they have a name, could have a mission. So you have to talk to everybody. If they're called citizen or patron, skip over them. But if they have a first and last name or a wonky name or something, go up and talk to that person. They probably got something for you to do. And there's
even
no
the pastor of some weird religion had me go invite people back to church. I was like, all right, because he paid me 2,000 credits. I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. I had another guy that was like church related. Like, hey, can you go take this guy from the hospital like back to his house? He's gonna be a little out of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Well, it was funny because my character I didn't want my character to be like some zealot. I want him to kind of be a little more like long hauler, little bit Han Solo type, but not quite.
Yep.
So I said yes to that. But then as I delivered the invitation to all the patrons, they wanted to come back to church. I took all the options of like, I don't care, just take this and let me get out of here. Like I didn't try to like convince, like, hey, how are you doing today? I was just kind of like, this is for you. Threw it at him and left.
Talk to you about Jesus.
I love that I got to do that.
My character is a scoundrel and he is kind of an asshole. So like he's nice to everybody. He wants to help, but he's kind of always, anytime he can, like crack a joke or be a smart ass. Like I'm like, press it, take that one.
So I spent probably 3 hours in New Atlantis just doing the little run around, talk to people missions, exploring. I mean, I was scanning and finding so much stuff to sell so I could upgrade. I bought a little bit better equipment. I modded my gun a few times. I was just kind of like doing the role-playing stuff. And I only in the last hour or so of gameplay this afternoon did I get back to doing missions like when I just talked about where you actually board a ship and have to like fight your way through some enemies. I was like, oh yeah, the fighting in this game is pretty cool.
I had the same thing where I was on New Atlantis for so long doing missions there that when I left, I was like, oh yeah, you kill people in this game. I forget that this game's about murdering a bunch of space pirates.
But even the mission where you have to solve this stolen ring, did you do that one between these two?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And there's that whole thing, but it almost felt a little bit Baldur's Gate-y because I wanted to persuade them of something, and you have to. There's like kind of what seems to me like an invisible roll of the dice that can be affected by your skill. Like you can actually level up that skill.
There's always like the persuasion stuff and all that with.
There is a persuasion skill point because I'm like put all my points into persuasion. So I'm silver tonguing everybody.
That was great. Like even little moments like that, or talking my way into the storage to get that lady's delivery that was impounded or something like that. Cool. Dude, I'm just having a blast and all that. And I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do the main mission. Like everyone has said, do the main mission, do some side stuff, but focus on the main mission. At least like get through a good chunk of it. So you really.
I am on the main mission that everyone told you that you have to get to, and I haven't started it yet. But I was like, oh, I got here, so I stopped and started doing side stuff again because I'm like, I'm here. Okay. I'll do that next time I have a big chunk of time where I'm not going to get interrupted or anything. Okay. So we'll see. And I'm not going to spoil or anything like that in case people don't even want to know. But like, yeah, it's like 5 or 6 good missions in. And that's a rough estimate. I've not been counting missions or anything like that. So, but I've done a lot of really cool stuff. From landing on space stations, like orbiting planets. Yeah, and
docking was cool. I was like, oh, you can like just dock on the side of the thing. That's kind of cool.
You get in, and might be a hostile one, might not be. You can hail ships and see if they're hostile. I got the wanted perk, so I always have mercenaries who like will catch me in space and be like, hey, we're looking for you, and I'll shoot out their engines and murder all of them. I'll go on board and like really make it personal since they're hunting me. I'm going a full Han Solo run, so it's all magnums and pistols and stuff like that.
Is it worth hiring people in like that bar in that first New Atlantis?
Only when you have a ship that can support a crew.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, or start making outposts, which like those are 2 things that are too overwhelming for me right now. Outposts I cannot figure out. I'm like, I may have to watch a video on that. I don't get it. And it's just because like it's just really, really, really involved. I had the same issue with Fallout 4, where I was like, I don't get all this like outpost stuff. And I had to watch a video, and then I really got it. And then anything to do with like adding things to your ship or building a ship, I don't get it at all. Like I don't know how to buy things, or like I'll have to watch a video. Like it's just I can upgrade parts on my ship just fine.
Yes.
But like if I go into the ship modifier, I'm like, how do I get new things to like put here? So it's a lot, you know. And you don't need to do any of that stuff either. Like I'm getting by just fine.
I haven't even tried that yet. I know it's a lot because I went to the button bindings because I wanted to change jump button, which I don't recommend. I just left it. I'll get used to it on the Y button. It's fine. I actually already am used to it. But I went to change the bindings, and if you scroll down all the buttons, so many are grouped under like ship building and ship customization. There's like so many different options. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's going to be intense.
Yeah, it's going to be really involved.
There's a lot of control.
You have to kind of be an engineer already to do that stuff. And I joke. I'm sure plenty of people are finding it easy. I'm sure. I just need to watch a video. It's just a little too advanced for me.
Yeah. But Jeff has joined us. Jeff, you've been playing some Starfield. What do you think so far?
It's okay. It's okay.
Remember, way, Jim Ryan is here, so make sure.
Jeff, do you want to ask Jimmy who's playing it on his PS5 right there? Do you want?
Is that a PS5?
Down below it, there's a PS3.
It's probably cut off.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that's totally a real thing that exists.
Yeah.
In the wild.
No, it's absolutely. Yeah. Jimmy's over at my house right now. We're playing it together. So
you're landing.
Yeah, we're land party.
I went with a diplomat route, and I don't remember my perks at all. I really don't. I wish I could recall them, but I just went through and was like, yeah, that's something a diplomat would have. That's basically what I chose. I don't know if I chose extroverted or not. I think I chose one.
I did.
That one's combat, pretty good, apparently. Because I just felt diplomat's a little lacking in the combat area. It's more about persuasion and commerce. But I just wanted to get through the game and see if I could persuade people a lot. Which so far I've like hired people through persuasion. Made it way cheaper because of that, and I've also been able to get out of. I think there's an earlier conflict that you're supposed to be able to get out of, and I totally did. And at least for those of you that might have a lot more points starting out with persuasion, you're able to get out of a conflict that's supposed to be a big one at the very opening mission. And I was just like, I was able to be like, yeah, no, Constellation is totally fine. Like, don't worry about it, guys. And they were like,
right after I talked them into it, though, you know? I did kill them because they had rare stuff on them.
They do. They do have rare stuff. So
where was this one?
It was the pirates on Mars, or not Mars, but pirates on whatever second planet you go to after you get the
Venus or whatever.
Yeah, maybe it's Venus. Yeah.
And they're like the red something, the name of the crew.
Oh, the Crimson, whatever.
Crimson. There we go. Yeah.
Oh no, I killed all of them a lot. Yeah.
A little help to get into their faction. You do have to break a law and get taken to jail, and that it uncovers what everyone is calling the best quest line in the entire game.
That's so cool.
Oh, when you're in jail.
Yeah. So whenever, so it activates by doing a crime and getting caught.
Nice.
And they send you, and I haven't done it yet. I just hear it's super great. But everyone's calling it the best quest line in the entire game. And you can do all factions. Like at some point, like you can if you don't agree with the faction, you can burn it all to the ground or turn on them or something like that. So it's like you can role play even though like maybe their morals are like against your RP morals or whatever like that.
I mean, for now, I'm still doing what Tim did on New Atlantis. I'm just overhearing every conversation imaginable.
So great,
which is so cool. Yeah,
it's really rad and also quite overwhelming, but at the same time I'm also just saying yes to everything. Like I'm in the Vanguard now. I'm just totally okay with being a cop. I don't care at all.
Same here. Immediately as the very first mission is like, hey, do you want to be a cop? I'm like, no, but
but he pays you for dumb stuff. Like, go pick this thing up and carry it back to me, and here's 2,000 credits. I'm like,
it's security guard work.
I meant like the I enlisted to become a citizen of the UC or whatever.
Same.
Yeah. So like, they're like, after 10 years, you're gonna be a citizen, and I'm like, oh my god, come on, 10 years. But whatever. I love I love that I played Outer Worlds so extensively before I played this game. Dude, because this is Outer Worlds on steroids, obviously.
I made a similar comparison earlier where it's like if you played Outer Worlds, you're like it was like training for this game.
It was the same idea of just walking around and picking up quests all the time, like nonstop, and then feeling like I got to get through these quests, and you do, and it feels amazing.
Universe to explore.
Much smaller. Yeah, absolutely.
So I found myself with this game being more wowed, especially in the first couple hours, just by the way everything is designed, like visually, like New Atlantis.
Really
even
cool
though there's
style.
a lot of like load screens and whatever. I don't give a shit about load screens. Spare me with your complaints about load screens, everybody.
They're also like a second long.
Yeah, they're like a second long, guys. Just put it on.
I will say, if I had to make a criticism about it, like since it's just a second, make them a little more interesting than a black screen.
Yeah, with the little logo thing.
Yeah. But like maybe it's so it goes by so quick. Yeah, I'll take tips, or even
this
just
is a game where you need tips. Give me tips.
If I'm flying somewhere in fast travel, like maybe just like show my like ship, like in like I think Mass Effect Andromeda did that, where it was like you would see like the Normandy or whatever, like in space, like flying.
Oh, that's right.
Or whatever the name of the ship is in that one. So, and they do that sometimes, but like when you're just doing a hard fast travel, like it just cuts to a long loading screen. But I don't care. It's just like, if you had to complain about something, maybe just stylize.
Yeah, that is one. Bit. I think they were more concerned with ironing out bugs, which they did so far in a lot of people's playthroughs, mine included. A pretty tremendous job of cleaning up.
I haven't had any like buggy stuff except some. I had one classic Bethesda thing where you know when assets load in, they kind of load in like top down, you know. So when you walk into a room, like everything's supposed to be loaded in by the time you walk in. It didn't quite finish loading in, and by the time that they were loading and dropping, the real gravity like kicked in, and everything crashed down and exploded everywhere.
Oh, I've seen that.
But that was
funny,
I love that. And that's also happened to me in every Bethesda game. And I'm like, this is the jank I'm talking about.
Stuff.
Yeah,
like,
this is the Bethesda jank I like.
Yeah.
Because it didn't ruin anything other than give me a nice kind of chuckle, you know.
Yeah, by the way,
maybe they should load from the ground up. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but then it would throw it up in the air.
It launches it up in the air.
I do love spending time places in this game. Like I'm not even in a rush to do anything related to traveling around because even the lodge I spent like an hour in, which is not even that big.
It's easy to spend time.
There's so much shit going on in there, you know. Like I mean, I even found where the well is, and I'm like, oh my god.
The well is so cool. That area is so cool.
Diplomat guy where he's stuck at customs or whatever, getting into the city, and then
I haven't seen him yet.
So I just kind of went back to the entrance where my ship was at New Atlantis, and this guy's arguing with the soldiers. At first there's a family with some little obnoxious kid.
I saw that one, yeah.
But then later on, you go back, and in the same spot, there's this guy who they won't let him through. He's from the Freestar Collective, which I haven't learned much about yet, outside of the fact that everyone in New Atlantis.
Well, did you do the orientation hall where they kind of explain to you what all the factions are according to their propaganda?
No, I didn't. Sure. But I've heard enough in conversations that.
I definitely recommend the optional.
I need to do that
orientation hall for sure.
But this guy he's like an ambassador.
It's fully narrated.
Who's there to like try to help keep the peace, and they won't let him through. So there's that dynamic is really interesting. Like they hate him. They really hate him. And
they're hippies. Get them the hell out of here. What are you doing? Yeah. Get some structure.
But it makes me really like that's why I haven't yet bought in on like, all right, I'm not going to join like this Vanguard. I feel like Freestar is going to be more my speed for my kind of character.
It might be. Yeah. There's also like some people that are just straight up violent to everybody. The House of something.
Varun.
Yeah, Varun. Yeah. The serpent worshippers.
The serpent worshippers. Yeah, those guys are like hardcore. I think I did choose a religion as one of my perks, honestly, because I was like, I kind of want a background. I want a background of some kind. It's like
I hear that having that actually is really good for RP.
I might have gone with Enlightened
dialogue options.
Yeah, I might have gone with Enlightened because Serpents was like that's a little too intense for me. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, there's so much to freaking talk about with this game. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And one is cartoonishly bad guy, and the other is kind of like interesting.
Yes.
Which
Enlightened is more like
the Outer Worlds was the same way, where the religion that was in that one, I was like, this religion's like this is a well-written religion, and it's not like nefarious or evil or anything like that either. So. It was nice to see kind of like both represented in this, where it's like this one kind of like practical, and the other one's just kind of about war and killing people.
I have to give Bethesda props as well for putting a very easy mode on, which I did not enable. I assume that's for people that have like no experience with Bethesda or action games or RPG games, period.
And they just want to explore the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Because now that I put it on easy, I feel a little bit, especially when in ship combat that I'm still getting used to, I feel a little bit more of a challenge. But it still feels great to kill them. Like it's like
ship battles can be hard.
Yeah, they can be, especially when it's like, I'm just doing like 180, like the whole time. I'm just turning around doing 360s. Like, stop, like, especially if they're higher leveled. When you do an orientation as a Vanguard, you face them. You can choose to face 6 tiers of enemies, and they just get tougher and tougher the further you go along. I only chose to do 3. You only need to do 3 tiers to pass. The 3rd tier is like more difficult, and they are evasive as hell. Like you were just turning in circles. Like, where are they?
That's
just
fun.
speeding past you. They're doing
Yeah, the
evasive
dog
maneuvers.
fighting I'm not great at. Yeah, I don't know if they
It's
introduced
tough.
any kind of like U-turn or loop you can do, or I don't know if they.
No, it's all
just gotta
about
figure out
changing
where
your.
to move
It's
your
all about
power.
changing your thrusters and hitting the. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to do
exactly.
all that yourself. Yeah, and some ships are going to be better at than others, but that first one you can do some pretty good maneuvering in if you get that stuff down,
And
which
the
it is
weapons,
hard. It is
when you
it
figure
is
out like not to
complex.
just use right trigger the whole time. Like it's like, oh, there's way more weapons here at my disposal.
Yeah.
It's when you figure that out, it feels pretty good to kill them. Once you get their shield down, you just left trigger, spam left trigger or missiles, and you'll just annihilate.
Hitting that left joystick up and down, changing the thrusters, like that's where it's gonna get you.
I didn't know that you have to use different weapons if they have a shield or not. See, I need to look at.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you gotta break their shields down.
And every time it was locked on, I was like, missile. You know what I mean? Like
missile. I have something on my LB that I don't even know what it does. It's like 2 quick shot, but I got rid of that. You know,
let's send this at their way.
Yeah. I love how many mechanics are going on here. This is just
there's a lot. It's just mechanically dense, which all Bethesda games are, but this one just like in a way that just feels like new and foreign, and it's keeping someone like me, one of these diehard Bethesda guys, like completely on his toes. Like I am having a hard time keeping up with every single system, but in a really interesting way. So I had to buy a new ship. Oh, go ahead.
Of what it is, the theming of like space and being in space and technology and future technology, like it's going to be much more to kind of process and take in than like just a fantasy game, you know what I mean?
Like set in a real world future, basically.
And it's a real world future with real world questions. You know, the game is kind of like about like what's our place in the universe and where what does it all mean and yada. It's very existential and cool and without being like space opera-y and
the reason I left Earth was
overly dramatic.
I do recommend doing the Vanguard orientation, and then you can still tell the guy after, I don't want to do any of this. Like you can still tell the guy after, I don't want to be a part of this.
I will do that. Yeah.
So I recommend that because it not only does it take you through that hall and you have the option of hitting each little voiceover narration to
learn about
to learn about all the wars and stuff like that, and all the factions from the side of the UC. Obviously, it's coming from one.
It's propaganda, man.
Yeah, it's propaganda out the ass, but it's still interesting. And then you get to do some dogfighting that is
like good training.
Plays off more like training. It's a simulator. Yeah. And then when you can finish that, or you can do all 6 tiers, like I said, and then you can go back to the guy and be like, yeah, this sounds terrible. I don't want to do any of this. Like you can still find or say I want to think about it. You could like just pause. You could pause.
Completing factions is how you get the best like armor and weapons in the games and stuff.
That's
like
what I was counting on.
Yeah,
and money.
Find your tribe and and stick to those missions because like you even like joining up, it'll just be like, all right, here's your suit and here's your gun. And you're like, oh,
they give you $3,000 like right away. It's like, thank you.
Yeah. And I ran. So I'm keeping all my resources like on my ship because like if they stay in your cargo on your person, you're able to mod directly, without it being on your person if it's in your ship. But you run out of space on your ship really quick. So I had to buy a $90,000 ship just today.
Oh my gosh!
But it has like 4 or 5 times the space, so it's a big old freighter, with some good shields and some good guns and stuff like that. I'm gonna upgrade that. I got my new baby, so that, and it felt good. Like buying a new ship felt good. Getting on it for the first time and exploring inside of it, because every inside is different, it's just like,
your first ship is a little bit
it's tight. It's tight, but it's nice. It's right to the point.
It. Yeah, it's like an RV. Yeah. It's like a little RV because
it is. Because when I got this one, I'm like, oh boy, I have to walk a really far way to get to the cockpit now. Or now there's a lot of ladders I got to climb, and like there's a lot of space. So
it's very different from Mass Effect. You get on the Normandy, and it's like you have 4 levels, and there's like tons of space to go.
Yeah, my second ship is more like that, but not quite there yet. But I hope to not get there because sometimes the Normandy, I love the Normandy, but I'm like, boy, sometimes it feels too big. I got to go to every single level and talk to every single dang person.
We talked about space combat. What do you guys think about the shooting and the on-foot combat so far and the way that works? And are you playing third person or first person? How are you playing it?
A hybrid for me, shooting in first person, walking around in third person, because I just like to see my character.
Exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's kind of what I do with all these games too. I like the shooting. It feels like Fallout 4, but just better,
Okay.
But it's not the greatest shooting in the entire world, but I don't think it was ever aiming to be either.
It's not Call of Duty or Destiny, but it is good.
Yeah. It's very competent, and it feels weighty and feels good. Shotguns feel good, which is another gun that I'm using. Pistols feel good. Like everything
on par with like Far Cry. Like it doesn't feel any worse than like a Far Cry.
Sure.
Far Cries feel pretty good, but they're not quite Call of Duty or Destiny
I agree
or
with
Halo
that.
either.
Yeah. Compliments, though. Yeah, I feel like they're both complementary.
I like the way Far Cry plays, so it feels like
too.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, it feels good. I feel like people who are just like, well, it's not. We were making in the hype video. It's never going to be Bungie or Destiny or anything like that or Halo. But I have a feeling some people are going to be like, well, it doesn't feel like those. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't feel like the best ever. You're right. It's the best ever. That's where you get
just a first-person shooter. It's technically a hybrid of it's an RPG that's a first-person game, but also could be a third-person game. And
there's a lot. Yeah, again, there's a lot of coding that goes into making this game feel the way that it feels. But yeah, Jeff, how do you feel about the combat?
I haven't done a lot of it because I did that first mission fair. And I've been on New Atlantis.
You're a diplomat. You don't.
I'm a diplomat, so I want to talk to everybody, man. And if the conversation is not grayed out, then I am talking their ear off. You know what I mean? Or I should say the topic. So like at least the shooting that I did experience took me that first time they show up and that Barrett guy,
mining company or whatever.
The first time they show up, I'm like, how do I do stuff? Like I just panicked immediately.
Good thing the NPCs are killing these guys.
But then I got way better as you're going through that facility, and you're just kind of mowing people down room to room. There's like one or two, depending on the difficulty, I guess. That felt way better. Like I was sneaking up on them, getting headshots, getting great damage. The shooting does feel very responsive, at least compared to what I remember of Fallout 4 and stuff.
I shot one guy's backpack and he Boba Fett.
If they have a booster pack, you can either explode them or do what Kyle just described, where he goes flying.
And they'll freak out first. They'll be like, "Oh,
yeah,
oh no!"
I love that.
It's so great. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think overall the combat feels good.
And zero G and low G fights feel good. Like when you shoot a shotgun in the air and you're in like zero or low G, like you'll like your character will float back. So that feels good. There's some real physics going on there.
Do you get that legendary shotgun from the first area, like that the orange one? There's like a legendary shotgun you can find in a weapons case.
I just got a legendary shotgun.
What's it called?
Because everything's random.
T.
So if you got it,
terrible shotgun. Is it terrible shotgun?
It's terrible shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Every time I start a new Fallout 3 playthrough, I always beeline it for the terrible shotgun. I love that thing.
I actually don't know if it's called that. I was kidding. Is there really one called that?
Yes, it's called terrible. In Fallout 3, dude. I remember back in the day when I first played it, and I don't know if I watched the video or if I actually stumbled across it myself, but it's the terrible shotgun, and it's like it like had excellent damage. It was a great shotgun.
I did find a really nice shotgun that has explosive damage or explosive shells or whatever, and boy, that's really changed the entire game.
That sounds nice. That sounds nice. But if it is called Terrible Shotgun, then it must be an homage
I don't think it is. It might be. Now I'm blanking out. I almost want to start it up while we're doing this to go look and see.
I mean, I could probably just Google it.
It's the one I have currently equipped.
Yeah, like that must be an homage. And I don't know if the Fallout 3 one is an homage to like previous Fallouts or something like that. But
I don't know. Yeah, that's so cool though.
But yeah, that's a really good shotgun in Fallout 3.
And by the way, the shotgun does it's a double barrel shotgun, and it's very satisfying. It does a ton of damage, and of course, doesn't work super well when they're more than like 10 feet away. But gives you a good reason to kind of like stay in cover and kind of like get closer to them, and then just turn around, and it can do 4 shots real quick, and then
sick. That's so cool.
Other than like the mercs who are super strong and they have extra armor, those guys will take more than 4 shots. But most enemies, they're dead after like 2, maybe 3.
I do a good job of my thing is I run in with my pistol and I shoot and get them down as much as I possible, and when I'm close I switch to that shotgun. I just finish them off with 1 shot with that. So I feel like the shotguns do feel really good in this game. To get a legendary so early, that's so sick.
Is it Coachman, Tim?
The Coachman
it's something with the T, something Coachman, and it's a legendary version of it.
Yeah, so maybe it's not terrible shotgun, but either way. Anybody play Fallout 3, get terrible shotgun.
Right. Go get it.
As soon as you said it, I thought you were totally kidding. Then I was like, wait, is it called that? I didn't really look closely.
It's literally called the terrible shotgun. And it's actually a great shotgun.
Okay. So I use that, but I also like, just that early automatic machine gun that you get it modified, and a bigger magazine, so you do less reloading, because reloading is super slow. Like I know that if I spend time adding the skills into certain guns, I'll be reloading like a champ. But right now, reloading is super slow. I have heard that. Actually, I only heard this one place. It doesn't sound like you can respec. Is that correct? like if you put a skill point in something, I think you're kind of stuck there, right?
Is that it there? Or?
Let's see.
That's a regular double barrel shotgun.
That's the code.
Okay.
This was like a legendary version of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can find in that first.
That's a sick looking shotgun.
It is. That's the first shotgun I bought. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I think the shooting feels great. I think the flying feels good, and it. We talked about this in the chat too. Like, one of my favorite video game feelings was a No Man's Sky, going in and out of atmospheres and flying through space, and just that feeling
I was curious about.
A new planet. You go through the atmosphere, and then the clouds start to clear, and you can kind of see what you're working with. Like, to me, that's just so fun. I love that sense. This doesn't have that, but it still feels really cool to go. Like, you can still scan the galaxy, and you can pick any planet you want to fly to as long as your ship is able to get there. And you pick a landing spot. So it's more about like, okay, now you're in the space. It's almost like an open area above each planet, sort of. And then you have an open series of open areas on the planets themselves, depending on the planet. So it's not like seamless like No Man's Sky is, but that might work to its benefit. This is a much more streamlined experience. You can fast travel like everywhere right out of the gate. You just go to the map, and for the most part, you can just kind of pick a spot and hop to it. And that includes like across the galaxy in some cases. So, to me, I like the streamlined nature of it. Whereas in something like No Man's Sky, it's a little more simulator-y, where you kind of have to get in your ship until you can later build portals in that game. You kind of have to get in your ship and fly there. You have to make sure you have enough fuel to fly.
Yeah, there is a disconnect with how easy it is to just fast travel. Like, I'm just gonna press pause and just fast travel, and then you'll just, again, loading screen, you'll just pop up on a different planet. So it's like, it doesn't really feel like you got in a ship and traveled somewhere. And but I get it. It's streamlined. It's for it's for good user interface and stuff like that. But
you basically fast travel to a totally different system, like millions of miles away. Just fast travel. All right, that's fine.
What do they do in Star Trek when they just, or not even Star Trek, Star Wars, like when you just jump, you do
speed.
Yeah.
Just it has like grab jumps.
Yeah, and there's some good grab jump cutscenes and stuff like that. I feel like if you're in your ship in space and you want to go somewhere, like it keeps you a little more in game, so you're not just like selecting locations off menus. And if like you're trying to just like fly somewhere, you can click like the mission spot like on your HUD. And like, it'll be like, hey, do you want to just travel there real quick?
For that.
And set a course, and it'll just kind of keep you there, and like your ship will kind of like fly off and like in a cutscene. So it keeps you out of the menu, so kind of that immersion is still there. But I will admit that once you hit that start button and realize how easy it is just to fast travel places, like you're probably not going to see a lot of those like ship cutscenes very much ever again after the first few hours, because you're just like, well, why'd I do that? If this is so much quicker.
Boarding the ship like usual, walking up to the seat and sitting down and pulling the computer up. I still like that. I'm not sure I'll do that every time, because it's just so much quicker.
Every time I do it, you're right. There's something really nice about it. Like, oh, here we go. We're gonna.
He like pulls the pilot controls up to him in front of the seat. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not something I'll do every time, because it is very seamless. I will say this, it's not really negative. It's more of an adjustment. I did not find the menus to be super intuitive out of the gate, and maybe that's a Bethesda thing. But
they're all really clunky. This one seems particularly clunky, in my opinion.
Like even just getting to equipment and quickly setting up favorites, for example. They didn't really give me here's how to set up your quick slots.
Now that I know what I'm doing, it all feels intuitive.
It feels normal now.
But like no, the road to get there did feel awkward for me. Even as a person who plays these games, like I'm just like, oh, this is like taking some getting used to. There was a lot of times I was accidentally dropping stuff instead of like favoriting it, and I'm like, oh fuck, I have to go all the way out and like pick it back up now.
Again, once you get used to the rules, like okay, these are the rules that this menu lives by, essentially. Then you know you get into the rhythm. Even with like giving your companions or your ship your stuff that you want to offload, that just takes a little bit of.
There is a learning curve. Yeah, there is a learning curve in this game.
So that's the only like quasi negative I have outside of like the map. I find, especially when you're on foot, the map is almost useless. I kind of wish there would be some sort of.
I wish there was some sort of map. Like it doesn't make any sense to me that there's not like a way to. I don't know, like, hey, this is a shop that you can go to. Okay, cool, thank you. It's just like it really wants you.
Especially New Atlantis. It's a huge city.
It's so well designed that once you know where everything is, like it's kind of locked into your brain, so you don't really get lost anymore. But boy, that first time you're there, which I guess is like real life, so maybe they're just trying to keep immersion. But like again, like it's so weird that they would go out of their way to make fast traveling so easy and breaking immersion, but like you can't just let me know what's like nearby, in terms of like shops and stuff like that. So it is kind of an interesting choice for sure.
And it's just the on foot map. The galaxy map looks great, makes total sense.
Yeah,
no problem. But
no, there's almost no map. There's no such thing as a town map.
Yeah, when you kind of
you'll
zoom
never
into
know
it,
where anything is.
There's a series of like icons of like significant places maybe you've been, and then it's just kind of this weird, like dotted geometric random waves. It seems like it's not really showing you like, okay, you're in the middle of this area, or you're on the right side. Go north. Like there's none of that type of direction. Okay. So to me, that's probably the only thing that I would point out and say, that's a bit of a weak point. Everything else is like, if you know Bethesda games, or even not Bethesda, I'm not a big Bethesda guy. I played Outer Worlds from Obsidian, loved that game. But if you've played deep involved RPGs, even like the inventory system is a huge part of that, like it is for so many games that are out there. Even The Witcher was that way, where it's like I gotta manage my inventory.
It is, yeah, a lot of inventory management in that game. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of that. And so the clunkiness of the menus at first can be a little bit like, oh, geez, this is how you have to do it.
And they updated that with The Witcher too. I mean, over time,
they took them a while, but yeah.
And we're gonna get 17 versions of this game over the next 20 years, so I'm sure UIs will get updated, and
it'll keep releasing every year on a new platform. That's
yeah.
VR for PlayStation.
VR version of this game. VR version of this game.
No, because it's
It'd
not
be wild.
Like an Oculus or something, maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
But that would be pretty cool, though. Playing a space.
There was a VR Skyrim that people kind of enjoyed. It was kind of okay, I guess, but
yeah.
But those are like, I mean, those are super mild nitpicks. Like anytime that my biggest thing is, well, the menu wasn't intuitive at first, and I wish it had a better map as I'm navigating around this place that I love. Like those are my only nitpicks so far. I know people are taking screenshots and making fun of like the eyeballs and stuff. I actually find the facial animations and expressions to be pretty good overall. Not perfect, a little stiff at times, but for the most part, like there's this character named Sarah who you meet, who's a key part of the main story, and she goes with you on your first main mission, and you can let her be an ongoing travel partner if you want to after that. But there are times when, yes, I see the weird, like crazy eyes a little bit, but for the most part, I found her expressions to make sense. You can ask her personal questions, and as she's like reflecting on something, she actually kind of had this side smirk as she was saying it. I was like, they really took care with the facial animations. Did they nail it perfectly? I don't know, but it's pretty good.
Sure. If you pause a movie at a random time, you can catch people making weird faces too. So.
Pause our podcast, and one of us is doing something weird.
Yeah, but yeah.
I'll do the eyes right now.
Yeah. I do the eyes every once in a while. When y'all say something crazy, I'll be like, oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, so that happened. But I agree. Yeah, there is some like visual janks every once in a while, but like for the most part, I'm more enamored by how like I don't know how animated these people are. Because you're really just seeing like this. Kind of like you're seeing us right now. You're just kind of seeing just the top parts of their body, but they're moving and kind of doing stuff like that's in character for them and everything like that. And like it's animated enough where I'm engaged with the sometimes very long conversation trees that you're involved in.
But I'm sorry, like when did that become not funny? Like when did it? Is it just like that kind of just the jank and the silliness and like you said, the stuff falling down and the eyes? Like when did that become not funny? Like
I don't know.
Good question. When it was a Xbox exclusive, I think is when it became.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen people, because that's just what social media does. As you're scrolling on, it's like this is the thing you want to see, right? It's like, no, I don't want to see some random fucking asshole just complaining about a video game and with their console wars, but then like you go into the comments and it's funny because then you see somebody be like, oh, word, like Spider-Man NPC, that Spider-Man NPC out in the boat. Yeah. That looks like an N64 character. Like, it's like, really, dude? So you want to complain about Xbox, Starfield games?
That's good ammo.
But it's like it's just so like everybody just needs to shut up and just enjoy a thing, or don't enjoy it. It's fine to not enjoy it too. But
there's so much to love about it too. Like the city feels alive. The characters as you're traveling with them. Even your first robot buddy who goes with you on that first mission, Vasco, I think. Even he's chit-chatting with you as you go through. He'll like notice something and be like, there's a guy named Barrett who he used to travel with.
Does he have
he's like, oh, Barrett liked going to this coffee place. It was one of his favorite places. Like he'll point out things like that that are just like for no reason, but it's interesting. Or like if you start collecting too much stuff and you get encumbered, like the Sarah character, she was just like, you don't have to keep collecting junk. Like, just
yeah, might want to drop some of that. Yeah.
Or don't I? Or don't I?
Yeah. So I actually, as soon as she said that, I turned around and talked to her and gave her like all of my junk. I was like, all right, you carry all.
Yeah,
this.
you carry it then. Yeah. I like how self-aware some of them are too. Someone will be like, did you need me to carry something?
Okay,
and they're kind of saying it like side-eyed,
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very Skyrim, there's
well, she said some kind of Lydia jokey thing like, I'll only take your best stuff. Oh, I'm just kidding. She said something like that as I was.
They've always been sassy. Even in Skyrim, the famous Lydia companion's always like, hey, can you hold this stuff for me? And she's like, I guess I'm sworn to carry your burdens,
Yeah.
Just really sassy all the time, yeah. So that's fun, that some of that stuff is still in there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, I think overall, like gameplay, top to bottom, is a blast. Overall, it looks very good. The music, super pretty. Music's great.
So great.
Really well. The whole thing is just high production values.
Skyrim had excellent. So I would imagine. I don't know.
Yes, again, I think that's part of it. You got to have good music in these games. You're spending so much time there, and like the way that it organically will swell when something's happening, or cinematically if you're in a mission and something's going on. Like it's just like I've heard just so many different tunes in this, and I'm just like, oof, boy.
So here's what I think about the overall game experience. Like some people might play something like Final Fantasy 16, and even if a character action game, a fast-paced action game, isn't their favorite genre usually, there's enough there, because I'm actually in that camp. It's not usually my favorite genre. I like it, but I don't love it. But there was so much in that game that I loved the overall experience, even if that's not my favorite combat type. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Sure. Same thing here. Like I think you can enjoy the game and dive into it and dive in deep, and not really need to love first-person shooting. There's plenty more to it. It's not just a shooter, just like Final Fantasy isn't just an action game. So I'm getting similar vibes of both, where I'm just like, man, there's so much here. There's so much lore, characters I care about, so much that I want to learn. I'm going to do what Jeff suggested, where you go in and do your little like tour. Like, give me like the propaganda tour so I can learn about some of these other things.
Yep.
That's what I'll do next. And then I got to do the space battle training, because my 4 or so fights, I've been victorious, but I don't feel great about it. I'm like, man, I got shot a lot. Like I'm just not. There's no. I can't do a barrel roll, So I'm like, how do I?
Make sure you have ship parts, because that's what heals your ship. They do weigh 10 pounds a piece, so make sure they're in your ship cargo. Don't be walking around with those.
Don't be a hero.
Yeah, don't be a hero. Don't be carrying around like ship, bumpers, in your pocket or whatever.
Fair.
But yeah, you buy those heals and use them. And there's nothing, obviously if you're in the middle of a fight and you're about to die, man, just start slamming on that R3 button and heal that ship,
Right. Okay. All right. Well, there's more to talk about with Starfield. We'll keep playing this game, of course, and you'll hear us more impressions from each of us on this. And then when Derek joins the show.
Hold on a minute there, dude. Oh. I just wanted to say I agree with your cons. That's all I got to say.
I do too, yeah.
Are there any other cons? I should have asked that. Any other about?
Not for me at this stage of the game, but just the way you phrased it as like light nitpicks. That's pretty much how I'd phrase it too. Like it's not something that makes me go, I don't want to play this anymore. So
it's what's so weird how intuitive some things are, and then how not other things are. That's what's weird to me. Is just like
the thought went into the gameplay itself.
Yeah,
and the bugs and solving them around that, and the maps were it just, you can tell the priority of how the game was designed.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah,
it's okay though. It's still good. It's workable.
Yeah,
I know. I had the same wow factor, just as my last point, walking in that first city, New Atlantis, as I did every other city that I've come across. Where I'm just like, this is a lot.
No. Has anybody been to Neon yet? Because that's the place I can't wait to go to.
I keep hearing about Neon, but I haven't been
Neon,
there yet.
That's the one place I haven't been yet that I'm like, that's because that's Blade Runner world. That's going to be your cyberpunk world. That's your Night City, Yeah. I keep on hearing about it. I have a mission to go there, but I'm putting it off.
I think somebody mentioned it in either conversation or, I mean, they just keep mentioning it, obviously, in conversation, but the orientation hall mentioned it too, of like, and then these people went to Neon, where it's like a pleasure planet or something. And I'm like,
Vegas,
a pleasure city.
Ooh,
and I'm like, ooh, hello. Okay.
What happens in Neon stays in Neon.
Stay on Neon City. It's no,
that's my joke.
That's my
but Aquila, the like space western like planet and city, that's like the first city I went to, and I'm like, this place is huge too, and there's so many things to do here too, and it's very rustic and cowboy, and the very first thing you do when you get there is there's a bank robbery going on. You're like, well, I guess I can get involved in this, It's just very like fun tropey space western type of stuff, It's your space western genre planet, you know.
Love it.
And that's where you get deputized as I think the group that you're looking for, Tim.
Star.
Yeah. And like you go on deputy missions, they give you a magnum and like a cool vest and a nice sheriff badge, and you can go and just solve problems across, you know, the frontier, you know, worlds, if you will.
Yeah, I did end up talking to this named character in that little shop, that little bar, and she wanted 12,000 for me to hire her, and so I did the persuade thing and got it down to like 5 or 6, I think, which I had plenty of money.
Nice.
Which I love that persuade worked. But her backstory already sounds interesting, and I have a feeling we'll have to go to her homeworld at some point if she sticks around and if whatever. But it's this place called Hope's World or Hope's Town or something, where some guy with the last name Hope essentially is like a dictator and he's horrible to everyone.
Sick!
It's Hope. I was like, this sounds great. I want to.
Yeah, I can't wait to go there.
Let's go kill that guy.
Too. Yeah.
So anyway,
I do like that. You get little breadcrumbs. You know, we're all excited for things that we haven't seen yet. You know, which is good game design. You know, it's good.
Agreed.
It's good carrot on a string design.
Agreed.
Yep. But the game is 30 frames per second, so it's terrible.
I'm thinking about that every
garbage.
moment I'm playing it too. I'm like, this is like, you can really feel all 30 frames. Like it's really something.
So 0 out of 10. You know, 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
0 out of 10.
Ultimately, it is meeting every single one of my expectations, if not exceeding. I am just blown away by this game. So,
yeah. So far, I feel the same way. My expectations, like I said, my hyper level was like at a 9. I'm currently feeling. I'm not even big into scoring games, especially this early. But yeah, like if you forced me to put a number on it, that's probably about what I would score it too. Like I really, really love it. I'm enjoying it a lot. Add it to the list of games. I don't know which one I'm going to pick for my favorite of the year, but I'm having a lot of fun. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter which ones are the best one. They're all super fun. All the big ones, at least. Let's talk about Sea of Stars. Don't let this one get overshadowed by Starfield.
A lot of sci-fi stuff.
A lot of stars happening.
A lot of stars, rather. Yeah,
a lot of stars this week.
Stars.
I can't wait for Star of Stars next.
Star of Stars. Yeah,
it's gonna be Starfall and Derek.
Starfall, into the stars.
Oh, Derek just joined the call.
Starfall.
or just stars with a lot of R's, and it's going to be the face of
I forgot
to
even say I was the one of us that got the watch.
Oh, let's show.
Can't even see it.
Oh yeah.
Hold it in front of your face.
Yeah.
There it is. And
it looks just
the
like
faces
the game.
change. The faces change.
Does it sync up to the game though? If it doesn't, I don't care.
It does not. It does not.
Boo.
But the it's funny. The stamina bar in the game, which is
looks just like the oxygen.
It's the reverse on the watch. So this is a step counter on the watch. So it's like in the game, it runs out. You're out of breath. You can't do anything. But
so it hooks up to an app or something, right? Where you can kind of set some of that stuff on the app.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's in watch. Like you just tell it. Here's the amount of counts, the amount of steps I want to take each day. But it does need to link to your phone in order for it to tell the time, all that stuff. But yeah, it's great. And it's got this saved my butt today because I lost power. I went to take a pee before I did a show and I had no power. So I turned on the torch mode, which is just a flashlight. And I just had my wrist out while I was peeing. It was just so funny. That visual.
Sick.
That is amazing.
And the unboxing was just extraordinary because it is literally, if you go on the lodge and look you can find the Constellation watch container, and it's the same one that they send.
It's there. It is. Yeah. It's
the same exact
one.
one.
In-game stuff.
And it's like the twisty ones that they give like astronauts shit in. That whatever.
Nice.
I just picture astronauts opening all this stuff, and like it's like a twisty open one, and like and it has got a different whatever you call it, strap for the watch, which I don't think it fits very well, but this one fits just fine. The one that it comes with. I'm trying to remember what else it came with. I think that's about it.
Oh man, that
came with a
special
patch too.
Collector's edition just looks so awesome.
It was great.